Good morning followers, today's episode is all about what you need in your lambing kit. I brought all my essentials out with me, as you can see, and I'm going to talk through each item. I've also popped a list on the blog www.femalefarminguk.com. Now I know some of you are just about to start lambing, it's end of December now, so there's a lot of January lambers that I know. There's others that are waiting until spring, which is usually people that are lambing outside, or those that prefer to lamb in the warm, and I can't blame you. But what I would say is it's never too early to get your lambing kit in order, so perhaps get these items now, put them in the barn, then if you've got any early lambers you're covered, and also you don't need to be rushing around last minute when you've got other things to worry about. The other thing about being prepared early is that you can shop around and get a good price, not necessarily online. Sometimes your local agricultural supplier will be cheaper, in fact quite often it is. So pop down there first, compare prices online, shop around and make sure that you're not paying over the odds for items. If you've got time, this is a luxury that you can do. But if you leave it to the last minute, you're just going to have to buy from wherever you can get to in time. There's 3 different categories for the lambing kit that I've put together. So there's the essential items that you need for any birth, any lambing, any breed, any situation. And then I've got another category which is if you've got problem births. So this will cover items such as your prolapse spoons, when there's difficulties in the actual labour itself. And lastly, it's going to be for any weak lambs that you have. That category will be for lambs that are perhaps born prematurely or just a little bit sickly. So that covers the things, if I can lift it, such as your powdered milk, if you've got orphan lambs or perhaps the mum's milk hasn't come in or anything like that situation where you need to hand feed, then you're going to need a bag of this. So that's my last category. After any lambing, you're going to want to spray 75% iodine. As you can see, this is well used. Your hands will be stained for weeks after lambing, bright orange. And you mix it with 25% surgical spirit. The navel is a super highway for infection, so you're going to want to clean that as soon as the lamb is born and make sure that this goes on prior to infection getting into it, so as soon as possible. Okay, another essential item for your lambing kit has got to be a pack of gloves. So you're not getting your gardening gloves out in this stage. This is going to be for putting your hands inside the ewe. So really it's for the ewes protection, because you don't want to pass dirt and germs into her uterus and give her an infection. So that is one point to remember, but also remember that the birthing fluids are designed to dry out the lamb, and if you're spending a long season with your hands in those fluids, you're going to get sore, cracked, horrible hands. So it's a real good thing to have for your protection and mainly for the ewe's protection. My next item on my lambing kit essentials is actually something that not every farmer or smallholder uses, but I was always recommended it and I recommend it to other people. And this is called Kickstart. As you can see there, Lamb Kickstart. There's other brands available. It's just an energy and nutritional boost that you squirt into the mouth of the lamb just after they're born, and it gives them that kickstart that they need, and just a little bit of energy and nutrition just after the trauma of birth. So that is available in most stores. Shop around, just use what you can find easily. Really it's all going to be pretty much the same thing. Another easily forgotten item is a head torch and batteries, or a torch and batteries if you've got a free hand. Unfortunately, lambs don't always come at the most sociable of hours. Normally they're in the middle of the night, so make sure you've got, I would recommend head torch, then you've got your hands free, and make sure that it works with some spare batteries, because the last thing you want is to be lambing in the pitch black darkness, not know what you're doing. And another really cool item that I actually included on my Christmas wish list a few years ago on my blog, and that's the head torch beanie. So you've got your lights in the hat itself. Kills 2 birds with 1 stone, doesn't it? So this is the piece of kit that makes most men wince. This is your band applicator. Now it's not just for castration, though the rings are called castrator rings. They are also for tail docking. So you get this applicator. I haven't even opened this one, it's brand new. They will last you for years though. So if you can see there, you just place the rubber band over the loops, put the tail through or the testicles through, release, and the band will clip on. They might have a little bit of resistance from the lamb, but obviously they're so small that you can hold on to them while you're doing this process, or get another person to help you if you've got someone around and you can hold the lamb while they're applicating, or the other way around. The castrator rings, this is really important. These can go off, the rubber can degrade, so make sure that they're working, because the last thing you want is loads of entire rams running around that you haven't planned for. And obviously the tail docking is a welfare issue, so if that needs to be done, you don't want the rubber bands just falling off because the rubber's degraded. So I'll just get some out and you can have a little look. Ooh, they're just going to fall on the floor, at what they look like. So they look, can you see that? Hold that a bit better. They look like this. And then when you pull them on the applicator, they obviously stretch out wide enough for you to fit over either the tail or the testicles. And remember that it's advised that castration and tail docking is done when the lambs are at least 24 hours old, but less than 7 days old. Okay men, you can start looking again. We've put away the castration bands. Okay, this is an obvious one for all smallholders and farmers that keep sheep. You're going to need to ear tag. So here's the tags. They'll have your flock number on there and your individual number of your lambs, as you can see here. So that's your flock number, that's your individual number, and then that's your personal. I had MBF for Muddy Boots Farm, which is where I first lambed. And these are your applicators, so you just slide the tag into there, put the ear in between and clamp down, just like an earring. Goes through with the little tag spike here that you can see. So that's what goes through the ear. You have to be really deliberate with your action. Don't hesitate, just do it in a quick and before you put the ear tags in, just dip them in surgical fluid just to keep it hygienic and saves it getting infected. Next up on the lambing kit list is lubricant. So lubricant for agriculture you can buy in huge quantities. This is Agrigel from Mole Valley, it's a Netex brand. This is for if you're doing any internal examinations, perhaps you want to check what way the lamb's facing, or you're trying to assist with the birth. You're going to need to put lots and lots of this on. Put your gloves on first and then lube up. What I would say is this is cheap. This is a lot cheaper than damaging your ewe from internal examinations without lube, so don't be afraid to use a lot of it. If there's a problem during birth, it's likely you're going to have to assist the ewe. So this can involve pulling the lamb out, which you might be able to do with your hands with lots of lubricant, or you might need lambing ropes or a lamb puller, which you can see here. This will just tie around the lamb and will help you pull out the lamb and assist the ewe with birth. Twin lamb is a really common illness within ewes that have got multiple pregnancy. It usually comes in the late stages of pregnancy, and it's a really simple solution which can save a ewe's life, which is this twin lamb drench. It just means the ewe hasn't got enough energy and nutrition to carry on with her pregnancy, and she just needs to get all of this inside her. It's basically sugar, it's glucose, I think it's, yeah, glucose and glycerin, and you just need to get this inside the ewe to save her life. So have this on standby. Another issue you can face, this is during pregnancy or during birth, is a ewe prolapse in her vagina, or also after the birth. So have some prolapse spoons on hand. You can get prolapse harnesses as well. There's all sorts of different options. It's just down to personal preference really and what works for you. I've got the spoons here. What you do is you insert this into the vagina and it keeps the womb in place, and then you tie these string here onto the wall. It's worth having because this can mean the difference between saving a ewe's life and not. Some of the medication that's required I haven't actually got with me because obviously there's an expiry date and I'm not lambing this year, but I did want to still cover it in this video. So there's Penna and Strep, and that's available from your vets. It's if there's any intrusive activities going on during the birth, so if you need to assist the lamb, you would give Penna and Strep after the birth. And it's an antibiotic and it's an anti-inflammatory, and it's really important. What I'd recommend is have some of this on standby, because the chances are if you're going in and helping a ewe, it's unexpected and you're going to need it as soon as possible. Another important medicine that you can get from your vet and is really important during lambing time is oxytocin, and this is usually used to bring in the milk if the milk's not coming. It can also be used to remove uterine debris. There's also Alamycin, also Terramycin does the same job. It's a long-acting antibiotic and it's always worth having on standby. not just during lambing, during the whole year really. If you've got mastitis, it's also used for that. You can actually inject it straight into the teat. There's these long syringes you get. So it's just worth asking your vet really. Check what they think you need on standby, and also always check the withdrawal periods. This is for meat and for milk for human consumption, and is really, really important. A real essential, if anyone is considering lambing, is colostrum. So this brand of colostrum is by Volac, but you can get different brands from your local agricultural supplier. You've got to have this, because if a lamb does not ingest colostrum within the first few hours of life, they won't survive. So make sure you've got a bag of this on standby. If you have a perfectly normal birth, the lamb is suckling, they will get the colostrum from the mum. This is only if there's problems in that situation. And colostrum can be fed by a syringe like this, or if there's real problems, you might have to get a lamb reviver, which goes straight into the stomach if the lamb isn't suckling at all. That is if the situation is dire and it's going to be sort of, you know, if you don't feed it, it is going to die. So there's different options, and also in a bottle. I've got a bottle somewhere here. Under everything else. So you've got a bottle like this. Again, that's a Netex. And teats. Make sure your teats are kept clean. They need to be kept in their packet. Don't have them rolling around on the barn floor, because then you're going to just introduce germs and dirt, which isn't great in a newborn lamb. Obviously, if you dies, or if she has triplets, or if there's any sort of complications with feeding, you'll also need this bottle on hand anyway. So even if the lamb gets its colostrum, you might die a few days later, or she can't cope with feeding triplets, have a bottle on hand. They usually come like this with one teat inside, if you can see, but I'd recommend getting some spare teats as well, just because you're going to need to clean this a lot, so have some teats on standby. And what you put inside the bottle is some powdered milk. So you can see there, U-Milk Replacer. This is Lamb Lac. There's other brands available. I've got this particular one from Mole Valley. What you need to be careful of though is that this and the colostrum, I should have mentioned, they both have expiry dates. So make sure you check the expiry date, which will be on the back. This has probably gone off. Yeah, this is from last year. So this went off in August 2017. This is just for display purposes. I'll have to get another bag, although I'm not lambing this year. It's quite expensive, this stuff, so bear that in mind, that if you're going to be raising orphan lambs, it can be an expensive exercise. I know lambing can be extremely hectic, really tiring, and you often feel like, is it all worth it? But it's also really rewarding time, and it can be stress-free if you're prepared. So just make sure you've got all your lambing kit way in advance of when your lambs are due, and try and enjoy it as much as you can.